The Oklahoma Sooners are still trending favorably for an elite defensive end prospect in the 2026 recruiting class.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. He's Jay Smith of Unfair Sports. I'm John Williams of Sooners Wire at USA Today Sports. And on today's show, we're going to talk through Athlon's All-American team, who got snubbed, who's going to be on All-American teams at the end of the season. We'll discuss that in the third segment. In segment 2, several Sooners were honored with the responsibility of representing OU football for SEC Media Days next week. What does it mean? We'll discuss in segment 2, but starting off, Jake Kreul, the 5-star on ESPN, a consensus 4-star across the board defensive end prospect from IMG Academy, narrowed his top 3 in the recruiting process to the Oklahoma Sooners, Ole Miss, and the Texas Longhorns.
This one still feels more and more like an Oklahoma Sooners potential win, but yeah. I got to preface this, John. Oklahoma doesn't get 5 stars. So I think there's a very good chance that this probably won't happen just because the fan base has told me repeatedly in the comment section that Oklahoma does not land 5 stars, even though he is number 28 on Rivals, which is technically considered a 5-star once they do their in-season rankings, 22nd with ESPN, probably going to move up there, 60th at 247, 79th at On3. And the way that we've seen him perform, even our guy, Brian Smith over there at the portal, talked about how the way Jake, he's like the most impressive dude he's ever seen as a freshman. That was like 3 years ago. So, John, I think Oklahoma has a really good chance with this kid. I know that he loves Oklahoma, and he raved about it in the article we read. So I like Oklahoma's chances. I just wish we had a date so we know when this is actually going to potentially happen.
Yeah, and he's got a good relationship with Miguel Chavis, and it seems like everything has trended well towards Oklahoma. If you all forget, Steve Wiltfong of On3 Rivals now issued a Fong Bomb prediction back at like June 24th, favoring the Oklahoma Sooners for Jake Kreul. A Orange Bloods, which is a Rivals site that covers recruiting for the Texas Longhorns, Cody Carpentier, he also predicted Oklahoma to land him, actually flipped his prediction from Florida to Oklahoma back around that same time. And so that's a positive sign. Now, nothing's final until he's committed, and really nothing's final until he's signed in December, but things are looking good. And if Oklahoma is able to land him, I mean, he very well could end up as a 5-star across the board and potentially one of the top 2 or 3 defensive end prospects in the class. He's that good of a player. And we've seen guys make those big jumps over the course of their senior season as those recruiting updates reoccur. But yeah, I like Oklahoma's chances in this. Again, got to get it done. Miguel Chavis has to continue to do work. And he's one of those prospects that you got to recruit all the way to signing day. You're not going to be able to slack off and slow down because teams are going to be coming at him. I think Texas is probably the team I'm most worried about here. Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss just doesn't seem to care about recruiting. At least that's what Stephen Willis tells us. He's all portal, very little high school recruiting, but this could be the guy that changes his mind. I don't know. But like where Oklahoma's at with this, Braxton Lindsey, the linebacker out of Arkansas, was somebody that Oklahoma was very much in on, but he chooses BYU over the Sooners. Not necessarily a surprise. He is part of the LDS denomination. So that didn't go Oklahoma's way. I wouldn't be surprised if they pivot to another linebacker prospect in the class.
Yeah, the Sooners are going to have to get another one. We need a few more because there's a good chance that we could lose some guys. But also at the same time, the question is, are we actually going to lose some guys? Until we know, like, officially that guys are gone, you could pivot, or you may just be like, we'll wait and see or whatnot. But yeah, the Braxton Lindsey was a good opportunity. One guy, content creator around Oklahoma, JP from Indy Sooner, if you know him on the X-Bird, JP and Trav show, that's kind of family to him. And he mentioned that, yeah, they are Latter-day Saints. So that's going to be a very hard uphill battle for anybody outside of a BYU and possibly a Utah. And sure enough, where did he go, John? He has committed to BYU. And so Oklahoma knew that was an uphill battle. They wanted him just because of the talent. But, you win some, you lose some. Sometimes the religion definitely takes over, and it's okay.
Yeah.
Oklahoma's going to pivot. They've got a couple of other linebacker options out there. And I'm wondering, I'm actually really curious to see how they approach that going forward. Do they spend some time in the portal? Like you mentioned with Lane Kiffin, our guy over, Stephen Willis over there at Locked On Ole Miss talks about how they really do spend a lot more time in the portal. And honestly, I kind of feel like that may be a part of the Jim Nagy strategy of doing that 50-50, having more portal guys than you would have expected, because a lot of them are a lot more proven and they're kind of worth the money that a lot of these high schoolers probably are asking for.
I think linebacker is going to be one of those spots that might be a little bit trickier to get guys out of the portal, because a lot of times especially your middle linebackers, they're going to be a little bit more loyal to their defensive coordinators. You might get like an edge rusher, an outside linebacker guy that, isn't the leader of the defense necessarily to jump and to come, but to get that guy that's the leader of the defense, that's connected to the defensive coordinator, that kind of calls the signals out on the field, that's going to be a little bit trickier. But hey, crazier things have happened, so we'll see. But I think linebacker is going to be a position that we might see, like, Kobe McKenzie still has a couple more years of eligibility. He could play this year and next year. And I think it would behoove him to do so, unless he just goes out and has an All-American type year this year and gets projected as a top 50 pick. Coming back for 2 years might be a good thing for him. Kip Lewis, I mean, if he has another big year and he's, a second team all SEC, he could be off to the NFL. And so you're looking pretty thin at linebacker, but they'll continue to build that depth. It's just going to take some time. Elsewhere on the recruiting trail, Jay, a couple 2027 predictions came in for Oklahoma targets, but not for Oklahoma. The first one, Fort Gibson, potential 5-star. He's a 4-star now. Cooper Hackett, the offensive tackle out of Fort Gibson, was seen to be maybe leaning towards Oklahoma early in this cycle, but a Steve Wiltfong prediction has him going to Texas Tech.
Makes sense. Tech is spending a lot of money, and we talked about this before, that some of these schools that do have that will have the money for revenue share. Let's put it this way. All of the Power 4 schools will most likely have enough money for revenue share. They bring in that just from the TV deals that they all have.
Yeah.
And so they should have enough to be able to allocate to that. It's just going to have to take some finagling to make it happen. But besides that, I expect a lot of them to swing for the fences like this. Now, Tech is doing this because they're just trying to get that big-time brand and name recognition. The Kennedy pickup on the softball side led them to the national championship, the Women's College World Series. And all that did was put their name out there in the streets. Now you got 5-star Micah Hudson last year, who entered the portal and came back. We've talked about this. Then you get Felix Ojo, and now Cooper Hackett. And it sounds like they're going to invest heavily in the trenches and try to get as many big name players as they can for the most part, and then just supplement everything else around it and see what happens. Because they're not going to be able to spend like this on everybody. Granted, the Felix Ojo contract is roughly just under 5% of the rev share allocation if they go off of what we're expecting, like 16 million or whatnot. That to me is a lot. It's a lot more towards the NFL model, because if you look at it, I was listening to the Oklahoma Breakdown, and Lane Johnson's contract with the Eagles is about 5 to 6% of the Eagles cap. Granted, Lane Johnson has been there. He's like 30 something years old, and he's been there forever.
Multi-time All-Pro.
Right. Multiple time All-Pro, Pro Bowler, etc. And he's help lead them to Super Bowls. Yeah, it makes sense that he should be that high of a percentage. So It sounds like some of these schools are going that direction. I can see Oklahoma doing the same, but I don't see them doing it at the high school level. I see them doing it with the internal players they want to keep, a Michael Fasusi, Ryan Foget, etc. So it makes sense if you want to make splashes. More power to you. I just hope the player actually is worth the money in 2 years, and if they're not, kind of stuck with them.
Yeah, that's going to be the thing to watch is, do these players pan out like Tech hopes they will, or like pick another school, Miami, who might be spending big on high school players. I think you're right. I think Oklahoma, I mean, they're obviously going to spend in the high school ranks, just not nearly what they'll spend on proven potential players out of the portal. So proven production will get more out of the portal than what these high school players. The last one before we move on, we'll touch this quickly. Peyton Houston, the 2027 quarterback out of Louisiana, 4-star prospect, projected to USC. Oh, that one hurts. That one hurts. But where Oklahoma's at quarterback, they're pretty solid for the next few years. You've got Michael Hawkins Jr., who's got 3 years of eligibility, including this year. You'll have Bo Bentley coming in 2026 with 4 years of eligibility. You got Whit Neubauer, who has 3 years of eligibility left. So your quarterback situation's pretty well situated. Not to say that we wouldn't love to have Peyton Houston, and that still may turn out in Oklahoma's favor, but right now it's just not looking so great.
You also got Jet New, who's going to get you at least 4 to 5 years of eligibility. So you're pretty young there right now as it is. So that's a good thing. You may want another veteran present. So I'm expecting them to go into the portal to have an additional one. Mm-hmm. You may even get John Mateer to come back another year. To me, 2027 is not the year for the quarterback for Oklahoma. 2028 feels like it's going to be more critical. Like you have to land a big time player in 2028 because at that point, that should be John Mateer's second year potentially playing, or even his first year starting. I'm sorry, not Mateer, Bo Bentley. Bo Bentley's first year actually starting, because at that point, Hawkins is probably still here. And so, yeah, you want to make sure that every 2 years you land a big-time quarterback. In those gap years, you need to either have a good portal option, or you need to get yourself a really good quarterback that's more of a project, but that can still play in an emergency situation.
Yeah. It's coming up next. SEC Media Day attendees. What does it mean for the Sooners? How excited are we? Let's discuss coming up.
Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the greens, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little bit more thrilling with FanDuel? You can get into the game while your friends are getting sunburned on the beach. Or you can do both. You can get sunburned on the beach while also getting into the game. Me personally, I jumped in here looking at the baseball odds. You've got a lot of games coming down the line today. You know, messing around with this Detroit Lions and Tampa Bay Rays. I feel like the Tigers game is a little bit of a guarantee. You may not feel the same. But for me, it's easy to use, the payouts are fast, and it gives me a reason to kind of keep up with baseball. So if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. So open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started.
Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The SEC Media Days will be coming Monday through Thursday next week, and Oklahoma's representatives at SEC Media Days will be head coach Brent Venables, quarterback John Mateer, and a couple 2022 signees, R. Mason Thomas and Robert Spears-Jennings. I love, Jay, that these 2022 guys are getting the love, because these are the guys that have been here for 4 years. They've trusted the process, and now they're the core of this team.
Is it fair to say, John, that these three are honestly the face of the team right now? And I say that, as you mentioned, 2022 guys with R. Mason Thomas and Robert Spears-Jennings, both of them have been here this entire time. They've been here for the Brent Venables era, and they were recruited in that era, and you can see by the way they play, they play like their hair is on fire, like you would want from Brent Venables. And of course, John Mateer is your quarterback, so you have to have him. What's even interesting, Auburn will have Jackson Arnold also there, so we're gonna have some great questions for him when Auburn goes up and does their thing. But I digress on that. I feel like, and I want to get your thoughts on it. Does this truly feel like the face of the team? These three, or is there anybody else that you would either add or replace with when it comes to these three?
No, I think that's it. Like, I think those three guys are the leaders of this team. I mean, you could probably throw Kip Lewis into that as well. He's somebody that has emerged and become a star for this football team. I think you can look at the defensive line, and Jaden Jackson, I think, is another guy. Dominic Williams, maybe. But as far as dudes that are legit, Brent Venables, have been here, have grinded it out, have stuck it out, have trusted the process, have worked and earned everything that they've gotten. It took them a couple years before they really got on the field and started to contribute. Yeah. I mean, if you want to look at anybody that is an example of why you shouldn't portal after 1 year or 2 years, it's those guys. Maybe Grayson Halton. Grayson Halton might be another guy to consider there because he's in that similar boat, right? A guy that didn't really do much the first couple of years in Norman. There were flashes in spring games, but you didn't see it during the season. And then he broke out in a big way last year, much like R. Mason Thomas, much like Robert Spears-Jennings. And so, like, that's another guy that you could consider as being a face of the Brent Venables era at Oklahoma. And they're going to be key, man. They're going to be absolutely critical to Oklahoma's success this year, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But you've got to have those kind of guys because it says to the younger guys, especially, like, listen, you may not be getting the snaps that you want right now. You may not be where you want to be on the depth chart right now. But look at these two guys. They weren't where they wanted to be either, but they just kept sticking with it. They kept trusting their assistants and trusting the plan in place. And here we are now. They're really the face of this team. I think you're right on point with that.
Grayson Halton's an interesting name to throw in there. And I only say that because even though we've seen the flashes of him on the field, I don't know if he's become that dude that's kind of synopsis with the Oklahoma defense yet. Like Danny Stutzman was the defense. Billy Bowman was that other guy. And offensively, we don't really have anybody truly yet besides John Mateer. John Mateer is now that dude. I've been looking at it trying to figure out who else could be that person if we look down the offensive side. Can't be Jaden Ott. He just got here, so we're still trying to figure it out, understand him. Maybe a Deion Burks could be your other face when it comes to the offensive side, but I don't know about that one either, even though everybody knows him. Yeah. I think a lot of people want to see him give us the production that supersedes what he did at Purdue before they really give him that label, but defensively, maybe Kip?
Yeah. Maybe Kip.
I
think offensively, like the name that comes to mind as you were talking, Javonte Barnes.
That is actually very true.
Like, is he the best player on the offense? No, he's not. But he showed just last year that he was going to bust his tail for this team. Nothing went right offensively for this team. Nothing. And then Javonte Barnes stepped up his game in the second half of the season and actually provided some life to the rushing attack and the passing attack. Like, his effort was something else, man. It was something to watch. Like, when you had nothing else going for you offensively, Javonte Barnes was busting his tail for this team.
That's true. That could be your other offensive guy. I think that one's a fair one. I think Kip probably on defense is probably the other one that you could probably toss out there too. If you looked outside of like an R. Mason Thomas or a Robert Spears-Jennings. I like the fact that it's the two guys on defense with like three names. I think that makes it even more fun. So it's going to be entertaining to be able to ask them all kinds of questions about how they feel about their defense. Do they think their defense can outdo them last year? Y'all do me a favor, get in the comments. And if you've got questions for them when we go to SC Media Days, fire them off. We'll make a note of it. Maybe we'll ask them and record it for you. don't know. We'll see.
I'll be curious what they have to say about the way Brent Venables calls a defense, because like they were on the defense back in 2023, but they weren't like significant parts of the defense just yet. They were getting snaps, they were playing a little bit, but not significant role players, not starters yet, like they're going to be this year. And those are two guys that I fully expect to be on all SEC teams in the preseason polls and the votes. Like Robert Spears-Jennings, R. Mason Thomas, both of those guys should be getting a lot of love and respect because they're really good players and they're going to have really big seasons. The other name on offense that I thought of, Jay, even though we haven't seen enough of him, is Jaden Gibson. That's a guy that I think like he showed signs of a breakout in 23, got injured last year. You didn't really see him, but he's just one of those, I think you root for. He is somebody that he could have bolted for the portal on any number of occasions, but didn't, after that 2022 season where he didn't really play much. Remember, he was a 4-star prospect coming out, and I'm sure had a lot of places that were trying to come get him, but he stuck it out and stayed with Oklahoma. And going into 2023, he wasn't going to be a part of the top 4, right? He was only maybe the 5th or 6th receiver on the team. And then an injury happened to Andrew Anthony, and he got a lot more run, especially in the second half of the year. And he could have parlayed that into a transfer portal opportunity, but he didn't. He stayed with Oklahoma. And then there was buzz that maybe he was going to go after his recovery and all that, but he's not. He's still with Oklahoma. So like, that's another one of those throwback kind of a players that all the fans love. He's been here for 4 years now. Now you just hope the production matches the time spent at Oklahoma.
Yep. 100% on that one. You actually, another offensive person, Kanik.
Yeah. Jaren Kanik. That's the dude you root for, man. You want all the best things for him. Like, I kind of hope that part of me kind of hopes that they decide to redshirt him so he can keep learning the nuances of tight end and then come back in 26 and be like, you're the starting tight end.
And be that guy. Yeah, that would be that pretty cool.
I would love, like, you're the H-back tight end. We're going to let you just have it all and see where it goes. But
give him a Blake Bell trajectory, I guess. Kind of what you would get out of that, right? It's kind of like what you got out of Blake Bell when you brought him as a quarterback, didn't really work out.
Yeah.
Transition him over. Yeah. Good work.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like, who knows? But if he plays this year and he gets out on the field and he performs, I still think he's got a shot at the NFL because he's going to be a special teams guy at the very least for somebody.
Yeah.
Put him in a special teams role, put him on an offense like San Francisco where they know how to use athletic players that don't really have a position. They can figure it out. Anyway, it's going to be exciting times. Let us know what you want us to ask at SEC Media Days, who you want us to try to run into and talk to. We're going to try and talk to our boy Jackson Arnold if we can, see what it's like down there at Auburn, Alabama, and hopefully he's got some healthy wide receivers this year. But coming up next, we're going to talk through Athlon's All-American team. Who should be on this team that isn't? We'll discuss coming up on Locked On Sooners. Once again, thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So, Jay, we're looking at the All-American teams for Athlon Sports, and no Oklahoma Sooners on the first team, none on the second team. And you got to get all the way down to the third team before you find Jaden Ott at running back, and you find R. Mason Thomas at defensive end. And then on the fourth team, you got Deion Burks. And that is it, my friend. A couple things here. Can we just stop with the Arch Manning as everybody's first team quarterback? Can we just stop with that, please?
No, John, can't. It's like, gotta happen. It's for you. They do it because they know you're gonna lose your mind on it. And
pulls me offsides every time.
Yeah. They pull you in. It's how they reel you in, and it's how they reel all of us in. That's how they get us all in here to watch. It's content season, baby. This is what you do. It's got to be Arch everywhere. And I honestly don't understand it either. K Klubnik is my number one quarterback in the nation. If I'm going SEC, is Garrett Nussmeier. I'm going off the guys that I've actually watched produce and do stuff. Right. And until I actually get production from Arch, can't give him that type of respect. Again, I've said it here before. I think he's going to be a really good quarterback. I think that overall he's going to be solid. But there's nothing about him that tells me, oh, I should pick him over anybody else.
Yep.
Nothing.
And he could very well win the Heisman. He could very well be the first team All-American. But right now, as things stand in the preseason, he's not done a thing. As much as I pumped up Jackson Arnold last year, I did not say he was a first team All-American in the preseason. I didn't vote for him first team All-SEC. I didn't do that either. So I pumped the brakes as high on him as I was, as excited about him as I was. I didn't get out there out over my skis saying he's going to win the Heisman. He's going to be a first team All-American in the preseason. No, he had to go earn it. Secondly, Dylan Stewart, super talent, incredible talent. But when you have fewer sacks than my guy, R. Mason Thomas, do you need to be on the first team All-SEC or All-American list? And my guy, R. Mason Thomas, all the way down in the third team. This is another one of those like, okay, he was a true freshman. Yes, he was a true freshman, and he's probably going to produce again this year. But will he, without Kyle Kennard, without Tonka Hemingway on the defensive line? Are they still going to have enough on the defensive line to force teams to allow him to have one-on-one rushes? I don't know. Talented player, super talented player. Has he produced more than our guy? No, he hasn't.
No, he hasn't. And you've got questions on if he should be on the top of the list. We keep asking that question. We're purposely asking that question because the production is there. Now, granted, I am big on Dylan Stewart, and I do understand why everyone has maintained a heavy level of hype for him because of just his bend is just absurd. So I totally get that. But can he do it without everybody else on the team? When the double teams are coming after him specifically. Possibly. I mean, South Carolina's infamous for having guys like him. You know, you had him, you got Jadeveon Clowney, right? You can go down the list of South Carolina bringing in a lot of defensive linemen and edge. It's just the weirdest. It's pretty amazing that they're able to pull this off on a regular. I guess because Clemson's out there too, it kind of makes sense. At some point, you should be able to do it. The talent's right there up the street around the corner from you. You should be able to pull up one or two there, right?
Yep.
But at the same time, you make some very good points there that is he going to be able to do it when he is the only dude that is everybody's focused on?
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, I think you could say the same for just about any guy out there. I think R. Mason Thomas is going to get a little bit more help from a pass rushing perspective this year from the other edge spot. Now, my question is here, Jay, who of Oklahoma's players do you think has the best shot of being an All-American? First, second, third team, doesn't matter.
I think Ott's going to end up having an opportunity, and then of course unranked John Mateer. I think Mateer is going to end up in somebody's at least second team.
Yeah,
just because I think that statistically he's going to put up numbers that everybody's going to be like, oh, okay, I see why Sooner fans are so hyped about this kid. We just got to get him on the field to be able to show it off.
Yeah,
but yeah, I do think that there's a very good chance that I'm leaning heavily on Ott being that major X factor because everyone's going to be so focused on John Mateer. Because it's the thing, if you focus on Ott, Mateer's going to cook you with his legs too. So you got to make a choice. And I think that everyone's going to focus heavily on stopping the pass and trying to prove Ben Arbuckle being very good, that Jaden Ott's going to be the one that's going to show out.
Yep.
Let's do that. Give me Ott. I think Ott's the one that will probably end up being a first-team All-American.
And I think if that happens and Deion Burks lands on a third-team All-American list, Oklahoma's making the playoff.
Yeah. That's playoff situations right there.
You know,
and
like if your run game is so good that you're one of the top 6 running backs in the nation, or you're one of the top 2 because you're a first-team All-American, and you've got a quarterback that's one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the nation, you got a receiver that ends up on a third-team list, your offense is putting up a lot of points, and you're winning a lot of games, because people are noticing you winning those games. That's why they're voting for you. And we know the defense is going to be good enough for Oklahoma to win games. So to me, you're looking at a 10-win season and you're in the playoff. It's not that crazy.
No, I don't think it's unrealistic either. Like, I know a lot of people don't like the idea that we say that, but
what do you want me to say? I'm looking at what's possible. Like, this is a possibility. It's a for real possibility.
You know what we got to do, John? I'm going to put together my chaos list of chaos situations. We kind of talked a little bit about one that Josh Pate talked about. I'm going to put together one for every game this season, and we're going to talk about it because I think I'm ready to see how far your optimism can really go.
Let's go. I'm ready, man. I will have a coffee brewed. I will be full on. I'll get my Crimson Kool-Aid pumped out. Make sure I hit the gas station to pump myself full of it, and we'll be good to go.
Love it.
Remember, it's island vibes. I'm still on island time. But that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in, being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on every platform. Make sure you go follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, over on YouTube. You can follow me at John9Williams. You can read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer.
Sooner. Island time. That is always
man.
A good feeling.
It's just good. Everything's good. It's all chill. All gravy, baby.